Hello everybody and welcome back to the League One Transfer Rumour Roundup. It's been another hectic week in this summer's transfer window for League One clubs. Loads of rumours, loads of done deals, loads of managerial news and speculation, and we're going to go through all of that today. But before we dive into this video, thank you guys so much for all of the support on the first episode of this series returning. It is greatly appreciated. I really enjoy doing these videos for you guys. If you guys do go on to enjoy this video, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And without any further hesitation, let's dive straight into the latest completed deals. Port Vale have completed the signing of released Morecambe goalkeeper Connor Ripley. I think this is a fantastic pickup for Port Vale. Ripley was by far one of the best goalkeepers in the league, despite being part of a very poor Morecambe side. He had a lot to do, let's face it, last season as Morecambe did eventually go down, but Ripley certainly proved himself to be one of the most impressive goalkeepers in the league this season, and I think Port Vale have really done well to get this guy on board. He'll certainly be a key asset to them in the defensive line this year. Bristol Rovers have completed the signing of experienced centre-back James Wilson. The defender was a major part of Plymouth Argyle's title-winning season last year, and I'm very surprised that they've actually been able to bring him in. A really decent piece of business, this one. Obviously part of the side that won the league last season and offers an abundance of experience. Derby County continue their impressive recruitment with the signing of Blackpool centre-back Curtis Nelson. I really like this one. Nelson has been a centre-back that I've admired for the longest time in League One level. Did fantastic with Oxford. Obviously has had previous spells in the Championship with Cardiff as well, and obviously was most recently at Blackpool as they've come down to League One this season. Derby County have snapped him up, and yeah, really like this one. He's really going to help out in the defensive line. We spoke about this one in the last video, but Brighton goalkeeper James Beadle has confirmed his move to Oxford United in a season-long loan. The 18-year-old has had previous experience in the EFL with Crewe Alexandra last season. Still very much unproven in the professional game, but Brighton seemed to rate him highly, and of course was a product of the Charlton Academy before Brighton decided to snap him up. Very interesting one, this one. It'll be interesting to see how Beadle does unfold. Certainly a lot of hype surrounding him. 18 years old, bit of pressure on his shoulders coming into a side like Oxford, who'll be looking to push up the table this year under Liam Manning. Joe Walcott's exit from Charlton Athletic has already been confirmed. We did discuss in the previous episode that Charlton were prepared to listen to offers for the Ghanaian international, but he has now confirmed his exit from the club, signing for Scottish Premiership side Hibernian, which is fully understandable. To be honest, he wants regular minutes, stay in the Ghana national team, and he will certainly get that up in Scotland. Bit disappointed with this one considering his injuries that he suffered with us, and was very unlucky to have really his season ended by the injury that he had as Ashley Maynard-Brewer came into the fold, and Walcott never really found his way back into the team other than that. So it is a massive shame that that's how his Charlton career panned out. That being said, we've done really well to get a fee out of him, and a pretty decent fee, I'd imagine, when we signed him for free 12 months ago. So Bristol Rovers' second signing of the summer came in the form of Barnsley winger Luke Thomas, who of course had a previous spell with Rovers in League Two in their promotion winning campaign, so there already is a bit of a relationship there between him and Joe Barton. Like the look of this one. I think he'll offer a lot more out wide and a decent replacement for Harry Anderson. Jan Inlandulu has completed a permanent move to Bolton Wanderers from Southampton. The 24-year-old striker has obviously had previous spells in League One, a number of spells with Cheltenham Town, and spent the second half of the season with Bolton. He only scored one goal in about 14 appearances, I think, from the second half of the season. And my club Charlton were fairly swift to replace Joe Walcott with the signing of Luton Town goalkeeper Harry Eisted on a free transfer. The goalkeeper, of course, spent the second half of last season on loan at Barnsley and really impressed. He helped them out massively in their playoff final push, obviously missing out on promotion to Sheffield Wednesday. The departure of Michael Duff, which we will get into later, actually hampered his move to Barnsley, and he has opted to sign for Charlton. Really like the look of this one. Looks a very good shot stopper, fantastic reflexes, and could definitely offer competition to Ashley Maynard-Brewer in between the sticks. And Jack Taylor has confirmed his Peterborough United exit and has signed for Ipswich Town. We spoke in the previous video how he had been linked with a number of Championship clubs, including the Tractor Boys and Bristol City, but it is Ipswich that have got the deal over the line. This is a fantastic bit of business from Ipswich. They've done really well to get this one over the line. Massively impressive season for Peterborough this season. It's a massive loss for Darren Ferguson's side in the middle of the park. He was so good last season, helped them get to the playoff finals, obviously missing out on the chance to play in the playoff final to Sheffield Wednesday, but I think deservedly so. He's got the move to the Championship, and it is going to be a massive hole to fill now in the middle of the park, and Taylor will not be the last saleable asset to leave Peterborough this summer, that is for sure. Blackpool have already found their replacement for Curtis Nelson in the form of Shrewsbury centre-back Matthew Pennington. Again, this is a really good signing for this one. I think he's been a very ever-present, solid, consistent performer for Salop in the last couple of seasons. I think he'll add a lot to their defensive line. Fleetwood have bolstered their midfield options with the signing of Ryan Broom from Cheltenham Town and Danny Mayer from Plymouth Argyle. Really like the look of these two signings. Ryan Broom, a bit more of a technically gifted midfielder, whereas Mayer offers that more experience. Of course, Mayer player was part of that Plymouth side that got promoted last season. And Bristol Rovers have completed the rather controversial signing of Exeter striker Giovanni Brown. It's going to be quite interesting to see where this one unfolds. I feel it's quite difficult to discuss this signing on a footballing perspective when you think about all of the controversy that's surrounding Brown right now with the court cases. I won't go into too much detail because, to be honest with you, I don't really want to give it the light of day on this channel because it does cover quite sensitive and quite serious topics. But from a footballing standpoint, I mean, it's hard to ignore the current controversy that surrounds him. From a footballing standpoint, I think this is a fantastic signing. It's a really good signing for Rovers, but yeah, a bit of a sticky one. Cambridge United have added some experience to their defensive line in the signing of Danny Andrew. Really like the look of this signing. He's been ever present in not just Fleetwood's side in the past couple of seasons, but also Doncaster a few years back. He offers a lot of experience to the left-back role, something that I think Cambridge definitely need. Peterborough have acted fairly quickly in their replacement for Jack Taylor as they have completed the signing of midfielder Ryan de Havilland from Barnet. The 22-year-old come off the back of a fairly impressive stint with the Bees in National League level. Apparently, he's a box-to-box midfielder and a new engine in the middle of the park, so be interesting to see where this one goes. The 22-year-old signs a 4-year deal with the Posh. And the mass exodus of players at Reading has already begun, and another player has left in the early hours of today in Tom Ince. He has confirmed his exit from the Royals, joining Championship side Watford. This one doesn't really surprise me. There's been a hell of a lot of interest in Ince since the transfer window opened, of course, since his release clause came out, or the alleged release clause that he has being 50 grand. I think it was fairly obvious that he was going to be on the move this summer. And we touched upon this in the previous video, but in the last couple of hours, Lawrence Vigouroux has confirmed his move to Premier League side Burnley from Leyton Orient. A massive loss for Orient in between the sticks, and massive influence for them over the last couple of years. I was quite surprised to see the link at first, but it is now actually concrete. I'm not sure how many games Vigouroux is going to play in the Premier League. I'd imagine he'll be coming in as a backup goalkeeper, maybe even a third choice goalkeeper. But nevertheless, I think the main thing to discuss about this transfer, or the main thing that is evident with this transfer, is it's a huge blow for Orient, and they're going to really struggle to find a goalkeeper that is going to be as influential as Vigouroux was. So there are some of the completed deals that have gone through in League One since the last episode. Now, without any further hesitation, let's dive straight in to the transfer rumours. And we begin with quite a lot of managerial speculation as Michael Duff's move to Swansea City and his departure from Barnsley has officially been confirmed. I think this is a pretty smart appointment for Swansea. Of course, Southampton's appointment of Russell Martin finally went through a couple of days ago, and Michael Duff has since been appointed as his replacement. Massive blow for Barnsley, but I think a really good appointment for Swansea. I think that Duff has proved himself as a manager very well. He's developed as a coach over the last couple of years with the likes of Cheltenham and Barnsley. Obviously was massive for the Tykes last season in their playoff final appearance, obviously missing out to Sheffield Wednesday. Went on a fantastic run in the second half of the season, and it's going to be interesting to see how Duff can do with the group of players that he has at his disposal at Swansea, and I think he deservedly so has got that chance to move into the Championship. Obviously now the attention for Barnsley goes to their managerial search. According to latest reports, Martin Devaney, the first team coach, is the favourite to become the new manager, with the likes of Darren Moore, Chris Wilder and Steve Cottrell also in conversation. Devaney would be the cheap option, obviously promoting from within, and he has had previous spells with the Tykes as manager. Very briefly, he took caretaker charge of the club towards the end of the 2021-22 season in that fairly disastrous Championship campaign for the club. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see if Devaney is actually a serious candidate. In terms of the other three, Darren Moore, I think, would be, in my opinion, the best option to go for here. I think, obviously, I mean, it would be quite controversial for him to take over the club after beating that club with Sheffield Wednesday to get to the playoff final, to get to the Championship. So it would be interesting in that regard, but nevertheless would be a very solid appointment because obviously Moore knows what he's doing. Chris Wilder, obviously looking to rebuild his reputation, obviously following some pretty dismal spells in the Championship previously, and actually Wilder moving down to League One would actually be the first time he stepped back to the third tier since Sheffield United, since those days when he won the league with them. So hit that again would be a fairly interesting appointment. Of course, Wilder had been heavily linked with the Reading job, but that has since collapsed. And Steve Cottrell as well is another interesting name to throw into the ring because he did a really good job at Shrewsbury Town. Obviously, his departure from Shrewsbury will very much leave a sour taste in many Salop fans' mouths. Obviously, the club statement was very short and sweet and not really I think, truly acknowledged, and I don't think it really acknowledged the job that Cottrell did and how much he actually gave to the football club. So there's a few interesting names in the Barnsley conversation. I think Moore and Cottrell would probably be the best options to go for, but at the moment, the first team coach, Martin Devaney, is the current favourites. And speaking of Shrewsbury, they have now appointed their new manager in the form of Matt Taylor. This is certainly an interesting one, as he has had a previous experience in League Two with Walsall, where it's fair to say it didn't really go to plan. Only 9 wins in 36 games in the 2021-22 season. That obviously equates to a 25% win ratio. It's an interesting one, to say the least. I think a lot of people online seem to be fairly happy that Taylor has been given a chance. But I think it's clear to say that it's not really the best replacement in the world for Cottrell, and it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out. And after quite a lot of speculation over the last couple of weeks, Reading have finally appointed their new manager in the form of Ruben Selles. I think this is a very interesting appointment as well. Obviously, was the Southampton manager at the end of last season. He initially took caretaker charge of the Saints following the departure of Ralph Hasenhüttl. He only took charge of 1 game during that period in which he drew, and he of course stepped back from that role after Nathan Jones was appointed, and of course we all know the disaster that surrounded that. Selles was then appointed as the manager for the rest of the season. Of course, didn't have his contract renewed beyond then. Fair to say, didn't go to plan with Southampton. I mean, overall it was a disastrous season in the Premier League, but he only amassed 2 wins in the 17 games that he was in charge. So he's still very much an unproven manager, and a manager that definitely needs to be given time, and the fact that he stepped down from the Premier League to League One is quite big. And it's fair to say he has quite the job on his hands at Reading, with a lot of players already leaving the club and many more are set to leave, and we'll discuss a couple of them in this video. Now it's time to jump into some player transfer rumours, and it looks very likely that Leyton Orient winger Paul Smith is poised to join his former club Queen's Park Rangers in the Championship. I saw this report yesterday. Must admit, was quite surprised by this one. I wouldn't imagine Smith would be sort of ready to make the step up to the Championship when he has really struggled to make an impact, not just in the Championship, but also in League One. For Orient last season, 10 goals, 3 assists in 38 games, so a fairly influential player in their title-winning campaign. 25 years of age. It's an interesting one for sure. I mean, it's definitely a big loss for Orient if it does go through. He's certainly been one of the more influential and creative and more prolific options that they have. As I said, he has, though, struggled to make an impact, not just in the Championship, but also in League One. He has had previous spells at this level with Accrington Stanley and my club, Charlton, where it's fair to say at my club, it really didn't work out for him. He didn't really prove himself to be a solid player whatsoever and really struggled to make an impact. So certainly interesting, the fact that he's been linked back to the Championship. But again, I think the same with Lawrence Vigouroux, really. With this transfer, it's a massive loss for Orient, and they've now got a big job on their hands, not just to replace Vigouroux in between the sticks, but also to replace Smith. We've spoke about how a number of Reading players are set to leave the club this summer. Already a fair few have left, and many more are expected to go. One player that could be very likely to leave is centre-back Tom McIntyre, who is reportedly attracting a lot of interest from Championship and Scottish clubs. Now, the 24-year-old obviously is a product of the Reading Academy, and despite being part of the 3rd worst defence in the Championship last season, McIntyre is very much a solid defender in my eyes. 1.13 interceptions per 90, 1.36 tackles, 2.58 aerial duel, so a very dominant defender in the air, 2.73 clearances per 90, and 2 goals and 1 assist in 38 games in the Championship last season. Stands at 6'1". As I said, very dominant in the air, a pretty solid centre-back, to be honest with you, and someone that definitely should not be playing at League One level. So I think it is really, with this one, only a matter of time where McIntyre does leave the club. And it's not just Reading that are suffering a mass exodus of players at the moment. Wigan Athletic are another club that could be set to sell on a lot of their sellable assets. One of them being centre-back Jack Whatmough, who is reportedly being linked with a move to Mark Robbins' Coventry City. Now, I think this one makes a lot of sense. Whatmough is, without a doubt, one of the best centre-backs going into this league this season, if he is to stay at Wigan. Obviously was a massive part of the side that won the league the season before last. He obviously was in the PFA Team of the Year. He won the club's Player of the Year. Last season in the Championship, 1.3 tackles per 90, 1 interception, 3.8 clearances, an average match rating of 6.72. A fairly solid season for the 26-year-old in what was a dismal campaign in the Championship, and with them starting on -8 points this season, despite the ownership situation now being sorted out, I think again it's only a matter matter of time where Whatmough does find his way out of the club. He should definitely not be playing in League One level. And with Coventry City interested, obviously just missing out on the promotion to the Premier League to Luton Town, I think would be a good fit for them. And another player that looks set to leave Wigan Athletic, and as a matter of fact, this deal could be done by the time this video comes out, is Graham Shinnie, who is set to depart the Latics and sign for Aberdeen. The midfielder, of course, spent the second half of last season with Aberdeen in the SPL after featuring 19 times in the Championship. And Shinnie really impressed at Aberdeen. Just looking at his statistics, an average match rating of 6.75, 2.8 tackles per 90, 1.7 interceptions, 1.5 clearances in just 13 games. He made a really solid impact in the middle of the park, and of course brings a lot of experience at 31 years of age. Reportedly, he is set to sign a 3-year deal up in Scotland, and it is also reported that he is set to be given the captain's armband. So again, I think it is a big loss for Wigan in the middle of the park, particularly at League One level, because he offers a lot of experience and a lot of leadership. But Carlisle United duo Morgan Feeney and Omari Patrick are set to leave the newly promoted side on Saturday upon the expiration of their contracts. Manager Paul Simpson came out the other day and said that the two's futures is still undecided as they're sort of weighing up their options. I think these will be two big losses for Carlisle going into the season, particularly Morgan Feeney. He had a very impressive season in League Two last year, 24 years of age as well, average match rating of 6.9 last season, average 1.3 interceptions per 90, 2.9 clearances, stands at 6'3" and managed to score 3 goals in 31 appearances for Carlisle. So pretty decent in the air, can score a goal from set pieces and seems pretty dominant at the back. So he would be quite the loss for Carlisle going into the season. And as for Omari Patrick, he's a bit more of a technical winger, 5 goals, 2 assists in 35 games in League Two last season, one of which coming in the playoff final against Stockport County. My side Charlton are reportedly interested in Portsmouth midfielder Ryan Tunnicliffe. The 30-year-old was released from Pompey at the end of last season, and reportedly from the Daily Mirror, Charlton have been interested in the journeyman. However, it came out in the South London press recently from Richard Cooley that the chances of us signing Tunnicliffe are fairly slim, as we do have other targets ahead of him. This one is an interesting one because I think I've spoken to a number of Portsmouth fans already, and they say that on his day he can be good, but he does have that inconsistency, which reminds me a lot of Albie Morgan, the player that we've just released, who also had a lot of inconsistency. Obviously, he's been all over the block in terms of his career, a former product of the Manchester United Academy, has had previous spells in the Championship with Millwall and Luton Town, and obviously was part of Portsmouth squad over the last 2 seasons. Looking at his statistics, he made 30 appearances in 2021-22, scoring 2 goals and 6 assists. The season just gone, he played the same amount of games, but got half the amount of goals and half the amount of assists with 1 goal and 3 assists, if you haven't worked out the maths already. But yeah, I don't really know what to make with this one, because I don't think it's the most inspiring of links, nor do I think it would be a very inspiring signing. That being said, I can't help but get Darren Pratley vibes off of this signing. I feel like he's a player that doesn't have much ability to him, but can grind out results and give us some experience, and some experience, by the way, that we do massively need in the middle of the park. I think we need that more defensive cover in the middle of the park. Obviously, we already have Jules Dobson, and I would class Tunnicliffe as more of that engine in the middle of the park, that more defensive player. And I think that he could potentially be decent cover for Dobson if we were to go into this. But obviously, the South London press have reported that there is a slim chance we sign him, as we are looking at other targets. We spoke in the previous video about Portsmouth's interest in Gavin White. Now it has been reported that a whole host of other League One clubs are interested. Bristol Rovers, Charlton, Derby and White's former club Oxford are all reportedly keeping tabs on the winger, with Portsmouth still reportedly interested in him. Now, this one is an interesting one. Of course, we spoke in the previous video how there is that connection between White and Portsmouth manager John Mousinho from their playing days at Oxford. The Oxford link doesn't surprise me, because White's best goal scoring season, or best goal contributing season, was with Oxford during the time there. Derby, obviously, we're looking to bolster their wide options with the likes of Nathaniel Mendes-Lang already at the club, looking to boost their attacking options. For my club, Charlton, I think this could be an interesting one. I think we could also do with some strengthening out wide, and White obviously has that League One experience with Oxford and Hull City. Reportedly, Bristol Rovers are more likely to be interested in him than the other clubs, and they'll obviously be looking to bolster their wide options as well. Sticking with Portsmouth, and reportedly John Mousinho has ended his pursuit pursuit to sign Luton Town goalkeeper Matt Macy. The 28-year-old, of course, spent the second half of last season on loan with the club, and it has been widely reported that Portsmouth are looking to bring in 2 goalkeepers this summer. Obviously, they've got one already in Will Norris, who spent last season with Peterborough United. Macy, in my opinion, would have been the standout target for them to bring in alongside Norris as a new goalkeeper option, and he seriously impressed in the second half of the season. 9 clean sheets in 21 games for Portsmouth, 77.72 save success rate, 7.01 average match rating. So seriously impressed for Portsmouth on loan last season. But unfortunately, following Luton's promotion to the Premier League, it looks very unlikely that they are going to get him back, as his wages are going to prove to be a problem. Blackpool are reportedly set to complete the signing of Rochdale goalkeeper Richard O'Donnell. The 34-year-old obviously will bring an abundance of experience to the Tangerines, and it would be fairly safe to say that he could definitely do the job for them if called upon. Although I would imagine he'd be coming in as the second choice option as a bit of experience. He kept 6 clean sheets in 40 games in League 2 last season, 8 clean sheets kept in all competitions. Peterborough United wonder kid Ronnie Edwards is attracting a lot of interest from an abundance of Premier League clubs. Newcastle, Tottenham, Bournemouth and Crystal Palace have all been linked with the 20-year-old centre-back, with the latter 2, Bournemouth and Palace, reportedly set to lock horns in a £7.5 million bid. That is the rumour that is going about right now. It's no surprise that Edwards is attracting interest. He's an England under-20 international who featured in every game in their campaign in Argentina recently. 42 games for Peterborough last season with an average match rating of 6.78, 3.4 clearances per 90 on average, 2 tackles, 1.2 interceptions per 90. Only 20 years old. It's no surprise, like I said, that he is attracting that interest. He's been attracting this interest for quite some time. Even last season, he was attracting interest from, I remember, a number of Championship and Premier League clubs. And I've spoken about in previous videos how Peterborough look set to lose a lot of their sellable assets and their key assets. Jack Taylor and Joe Ward have already left the club. Johnson Clark-Harris could very well be another one. Reportedly, Peterborough want as high as 10 million for the centre-back, which is not really surprising. I mean, he's 20 years old, an England under-20 international. Definitely one of their sellable and key assets going into this season, and I have no doubt in my mind that he could very well be off this summer. So there you have it, guys. That is the end of today's episode of the League One Transfer Rumour Roundup. I hope you guys did enjoy this episode. If you did, can you possibly leave a like, subscribe if you are new to the channel, and turn on those post notifications so you're notified of every time I upload a new video. What do you guys think about the latest completed deals, managerial speculation and done deals and rumours that have gone through in League One recently? Let me know in the comments below. Are there any transfer rumours that I've missed out on that I haven't covered in this video? Let me know in the comments below, and I may well cover them in the next episode. Thank you again for the support on the first episode of this series. I'm really glad to have this series back, and I'm looking forward to bringing these back to you guys on a regular basis. This has been Tyler Ronaldson. Have a nice day, and I will see you all in the next episode. Take it easy, stay safe, and I'll see you all then.